She texted, "I'm pregnant and you're the father. I've been traveling for work for 4 months straight." I replied, "Congratulations. What's his name?" Then she admitted she'd slept with my roommate. When I sent the text thread to him and his fiancée, 27 male, work as a field technician for a telecom company. The job is basically fly to wherever the contract is, live in a hotel for weeks or months at a time, install and maintain commercial network infrastructure, fly home when the project's done. The pay is excellent for someone my age, about $86,000 plus per DM, but the trade-off is that you're basically a ghost in your own life. Your mail piles up. Your fridge grows science experiments. Your relationships run on FaceTime and good faith. I've been dating my girlfriend for about 1.5 years. We met at a friend's cookout, hit it off, started hanging out, and things just kind of progressed naturally. She was fun, laughed at everything, had this energy where she could talk to anyone at a party and make them feel like they were the most interesting person in the room. I fell for it hard. In hindsight, I now understand that someone who can make everyone feel special might not be making anyone feel special. But that's a lesson you learn the expensive way. My living situation, I rent a 3-bedroom house with my roommate. We've been splitting rent for about 2 years. He moved in when my previous roommate relocated for work. He seemed solid, quiet, kept to himself, worked as an IT project manager from home. We weren't best friends or anything. More like functional cohabitants who occasionally watched football together and split the cost of a lawn service. He had a fiancée. They'd been together for 3 years and were planning a wedding for the following spring. She was over at the house a lot. Nice woman. Organized. The type who had a color-coded binder for the wedding planning. I liked her. So 4 months ago, I got assigned to a massive project. Huge commercial build-out, the kind of job that's career-defining if you do it right. I'd be gone for 16 weeks minimum. My girlfriend wasn't thrilled. We'd had the "I don't like how much you travel" conversation about 6 times already. I told her this was a big opportunity and that I'd be back before she knew it. She said she understood. She did not understand. For the first month, things were normal. Nightly FaceTime calls, good morning texts, the usual. Month 2, the calls got shorter. She was tired a lot. Busy. I didn't think much of it. I was pulling 12-hour days myself, and sometimes I was the one to wipe to talk. Month 3, she started getting weird about my return date, asking if the project could be extended, saying things like "don't rush home" on my account, which I thought was her being supportive, but was actually, as I now know, her being very literal. Then the text came. Tuesday morning, 7:14 a.m. I'm eating a gas station breakfast burrito in a hotel parking lot because glamorous life. Right? My phone buzzes. Her. We need to talk. I'm pregnant. It's yours. I stared at that text for a solid minute. Then I did the math. I'd been gone for 14 weeks at that point. She was telling me she was pregnant with my baby. For that to be true, she'd have to be at least 14 weeks along, which would mean she would have known for weeks and said nothing. Or she got pregnant right before I left, which would put her at nearly 4 months, and she definitely would have been showing and would have known long before now. Or, and this is the option that made my breakfast burrito taste like cardboard, she didn't get pregnant by me at all and was hoping I was bad at math. I'm not bad at math. I sat in that parking lot for about 10 minutes just breathing. Then I typed the response that apparently makes me a Reddit legend. Though at the time, I was just being a smart aleck because it was either that or throw up. Me. Congratulations. What's his name? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. This went on for a full 2 minutes. Her, what do you mean? Me. The father. What's his name? Because I've been 1,200 miles away for 14 weeks, and I'm not the Virgin Mary's husband. Nothing for an hour. Then my phone rang. She was crying. Full hyperventilation mode. Between sobs, the truth came out in pieces like she was pulling shrapnel from a wound she gave herself. She'd been sleeping with my roommate. It started about 6 weeks after I left. She said she was lonely, and he was there, and it just happened. The classic script. It just happened. Like gravity pulled them into bed against their will. She said it was only a few times. It was not only a few times, but I'll get to that. I asked her one question. Does his fiancée know? No. And you can't tell her. That would ruin everything. Everything is already ruined. I mean for her. She doesn't deserve to be hurt like that. But I do. She didn't have an answer. I hung up, turned my phone off, went to work, installed a fiber trunk line in a commercial office building, ate lunch alone, turned my phone back on at 6 p.m. 22 missed calls, 9 from her, 6 from my roommate, 7 from numbers I didn't recognize. About 30 texts. I didn't read any of them. Instead, I did something very calm and very deliberate. I screenshot the entire text conversation, her pregnancy announcement, my response, her admission, all of it. Every message, time-stamped and unedited. Then I opened a new message to my roommate's fiancée. I typed, "Hey, I'm really sorry to be the one to tell you this. I think you need to see this conversation. I just found out today, and I thought you deserved to know before anyone had time to spin a story." I attached every screenshot and hit send. Then I ordered room service, watched 3 episodes of a show I don't remember, and went to sleep. More in the update. Trust me, it gets wild. Update 1, 6 days later. All right, I owe y'all an update because this has gone from bad to absolutely unhinged. First, the immediate aftermath of me sending those screenshots to my roommate's fiancée. She read them at 11:43 p.m. I know, because iMessage showed read, and then my phone started lighting up. But she didn't text me. She called him. I know this because my roommate sent me a text at 11:58 p.m. that said, "What did you do?" Not "I'm sorry." Not "I can explain." Not "I messed up." His first instinct, after sleeping with my girlfriend in my house while I was working to pay for that house, was to ask me what I did. Like I was the one who caused the problem by telling the truth. I replied, "I forwarded some texts. Seems like you got a phone call to take." He didn't respond after that. The next morning, I called my buddy from college, the one friend I have who's actually good in a crisis. He's an accountant, which means he thinks in spreadsheets and timelines. And right now, that's exactly what I needed. I told him everything. His response, "Okay, first things first, when's your lease up?" This is where it gets complicated. My lease doesn't end for another 5 months. Both my name and my roommate's name are on it. I can't just bail without either breaking the lease, which would cost me 2 months' rent as a penalty, about $2,400, or finding someone to take over my half. And I'm not paying $2,400 because someone else couldn't keep it in their pants in my house. My buddy said, "Don't make any financial decisions until you're home. Just document everything and keep your cool." Solid advice. I followed it. Mostly. Over the next 3 days, here's what happened. My ex-girlfriend went full damage control. She started calling my friends, people she'd met through me, and telling them her version of events. In her version, I was emotionally unavailable and chose work over the relationship and basically abandoned her. She told people she was pregnant and scared and that I was punishing her instead of stepping up. She conveniently left out the part where the baby isn't mine and she slept with my roommate. She also started texting me nonstop. Not apologies, demands. She wanted me to be mature about this. She wanted me to not involve other people in our private business. She actually sent me a text that said, "You had no right to tell his fiancée. That wasn't your secret to tell." I screenshot that one too, because the audacity was genuinely breathtaking. Then she tried a new angle. She texted me, "I'm keeping the baby, and if you don't help me, I'm telling people you abandoned your pregnant girlfriend." Me, "It's not my baby. You told me that yourself." In writing, which I saved. Her, "Nobody knows that." Me, "His fiancée does." Her, "You're such a terrible person." I didn't respond after that. Just save the screenshots. Now, my roommate. This is where entitlement reaches a level I didn't think was possible in a real human being. My roommate's fiancée confronted him that night, and he apparently confessed to a one-time mistake. One time? Sure, buddy. She didn't buy it either. She went through his phone and found messages between him and my girlfriend going back 10 weeks. Not a few times. 10 weeks of messages. Plans to meet up. Conversations about how they felt guilty but alive. Texts about timing their meetups around his fiancée's work schedule. One message from my girlfriend said, "He won't be back until March. We have plenty of time." That one really sat with me. His fiancée found all of it, and she called me. Not to yell, to confirm the timeline. She was calm in the way that people are calm when they're in shock. She asked me when I left for the job, how long I'd been gone, whether I'd had any suspicion. I answered everything honestly. She thanked me. Then she said, "I'm not marrying him," and hung up. Here's where my roommate's entitlement kicks into overdrive. He called me the next day, not to apologize, not to discuss the living situation, to blame me. "You just destroyed my entire life." No, you destroyed your life. I just CC'd the relevant parties. She canceled the wedding. Do you understand that? The deposits are gone. The venue, the caterer, the photographer. That's over $12,000. And her parents are demanding I pay them back. Sounds like a you problem. We could have handled this like adults. You didn't have to involve her. You didn't have to sleep with my girlfriend in my house. It wasn't planned. It just happened. 10 weeks of scheduling around your fiancé's work shifts is planning. That's project management. You literally managed this like a work project. He hung up, but he wasn't done. Oh no. See, my roommate had a very specific problem now. His fiancée was done. She told her parents. Her parents called his parents. His mom called him, and he apparently broke down and told her some sanitized version of events where he was seduced and made a mistake. His mom then called me and asked me to show some compassion because her son was going through a hard time. I said, "Ma'am, your son slept with my girlfriend in my home for 10 weeks while I was working. I'm going through a hard time too." She said, "Well, maybe if you'd been home more, this wouldn't have happened." I said, "Have a good evening," and hung up. Because what do you even say to that? Apparently his infidelity is my fault because I had a job. Cool. Love that logic. Now the financial stuff. My roommate, who is now facing $12,000 plus in lost wedding deposits that his ex-fiancé's family wants repaid, decided that he shouldn't have to pay his half of rent anymore because, and I am quoting a text message here, "The living situation is hostile and you created that hostility." He wanted me to cover full rent or let him off the lease early with no penalty. I forwarded that text to my landlord with a note explaining the situation, without personal details, just "My roommate wants to stop paying rent. I want you to be aware." My landlord responded within an hour. "Both names are on the lease. Both parties are responsible. If he stops paying, I'll pursue both of you and it'll affect both your credit." I told my roommate. He said, "Then I'll just stop paying and let the landlord deal with it." I said, "That'll wreck your credit too. And you're the one who just lost a fiancé and 12 grand. You really want to add eviction to the list." He paid rent, begrudgingly, but he paid. I'll give more details in the final update. I'm heading home in 2 weeks, and that's when the real confrontation happens. Update 2, 16 days later. I'm home. I'm home. I've been back for 4 days. This is the final update because I'm done with this chapter of my life after this post. Flying home was surreal. 16 weeks of living out of a suitcase, working 12-hour days, and dealing with the worst personal crisis of my life remotely through a phone screen. When I landed and got in my truck at long-term parking, I just sat there for a while. The truck smelled like my old life. The AUX cord was still connected to a playlist she'd made me for the road. I unplugged it, tossed it in the glove box, and drove home. Walking into the house was exactly as awkward as you'd imagine. My roommate was in the living room working on his laptop. We made eye contact. He looked like he'd lost about 15 pounds. Not in a good way. Dark circles. Unshaved. His half of the living room, which used to be neat because his fiancée was always organizing, was cluttered with takeout containers and energy drink cans. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I said. I went to my room, unpacked, took a shower, checked my room for any signs that anyone had been in there while I was gone. Nothing obvious, but I'll be honest. I checked. Wouldn't you? That first evening, I sat in the kitchen eating takeout, and he came in to get water. He stood there for a second, then said, "Can we talk?" "About what?" "About how we're going to handle the next 5 months. You pay your rent. I pay mine. We stay out of each other's way. That's the plan. That's it. We can't even be civil." I'm being extremely civil right now. Civil is the best you're going to get. He opened his mouth, closed it, and went back to his room. Good talk. Now, my ex-girlfriend. She'd been texting me leading up to my return. The tone had shifted from demanding to almost sweet, like she was trying to rewind the clock. "I miss you. Can we please just talk in person when you get back? I know I messed up, but I still love you." I didn't respond to any of it. But she knew my return date because she'd been tracking my project timeline for months, back when we were actually together, and she pretended to care about my work. Day 2 of being home, she showed up at my house. Didn't call first. Didn't text, "I'm coming over." Just appeared. Rang the doorbell at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. I opened the door. She was showing. Visibly pregnant now. That hit me harder than I expected. Not because of any paternal feelings. Trust me, the math removes all ambiguity there. But because seeing a woman you used to love standing on your porch pregnant with another man's baby is one of those images that your brain files under things you'll never unsee. "Can I come in?" she asked. "No, please. I drove all the way here." "That was your choice. What do you want?" She started crying. Not performative crying. She was genuinely upset. I'll give her that. She said she was scared. The baby was due in about 5 months. My roommate was refusing to take responsibility. Her parents were disappointed. She was working part-time as a dental assistant, and her insurance barely covered the prenatal care. She needed help. "I'm sorry you're in a tough spot," I said. "But none of this is my responsibility. You were supposed to be my person. And you were supposed to not sleep with my roommate for 10 weeks while I was working. We're both disappointed." "That's really how you're going to be?" "Yeah, that's really how I'm going to be." She stood there for a few seconds. Then she said something that I think was supposed to make me feel guilty, but actually just confirmed I was making the right decision. "You know, if you had just been here, none of this would have happened. You left. You're always leaving. I was working to pay for this house that you used as a venue to cheat on me." She didn't have a comeback for that. She left. My roommate, who had been in his room during this entire exchange, came out afterward and said, "She came to see me last week too. Told me I need to step up." I told her I'm not ready to be a father. I looked at him. Whether you're ready or not isn't really the question anymore, is it? I'm not signing anything. That's between you, her, and a family court judge. Leave me out of it. She's going to file for child support. Probably. That could be like $800 a month. Sounds like it. He went back to his room. I made myself a sandwich. Now here's the part that I think y'all have been waiting for. The actual fallout. Not the dramatic confrontations, but the real, grinding, unglamorous consequences. My roommate's fiancée, or rather his ex-fiancée, did not go quietly. And honestly, she had every right not to. Her family had put down deposits totaling about $12,800 for a wedding that was now canceled. Venue, $5,500. Caterer, $3,200. Photographer, $1,800. Florist, $1,100. DJ, $1,200. Her parents asked him to repay it. He said he couldn't afford it right now. So her dad, who is apparently a retired contractor with a lot of time and a very good understanding of small claims court, filed a claim against him for the deposits. My roommate laughed it off at first. Small claims court? That's for Judge Judy. He didn't hire a lawyer because he didn't think he needed one. He needed one. The ex-fiancé's father showed up to court with receipts, contracts, canceled checks, and a notarized statement from his daughter detailing the timeline of events, including the infidelity. My roommate showed up with nothing. He tried to argue that the deposits were shared relationship expenses and not his sole responsibility. The judge asked him one question. Were you the one whose actions caused the cancellation of the event these deposits were for? He said, it's complicated. The judge said, it's really not. He got a judgment against him for $9,400. Not the full $12,800 because the judge determined some deposits were made solely by her family for items that were their choice to upgrade. But $9,400 is still $9,400. And if he doesn't pay, it goes to collections and wrecks his credit. Combined with the incoming child support situation, my roommate is looking at a financial reality that is going to define his next several years. He makes decent money as an IT project manager, probably around $75,000, but $9,400 in judgment debt plus potentially $800 per month in child support plus rent plus his own living expenses means he's going to be living tight for a long time. All because he couldn't leave my girlfriend alone for 16 weeks. As for my ex, her consequences are less legal and more personal, but they're real. Her friend group fractured. The mutual friends who initially heard her, "He abandoned me," narrative eventually got the full story. I didn't blast it. I didn't have to. The screenshots I sent to the fiancé made the rounds organically. People talk, especially when there are receipts. Her best friend since high school called me about a week after I got home. She said, "I believed her when she said you were the problem. I'm sorry. She lied to all of us." She told me that my ex had been telling people the baby was mine until the screenshot surfaced. After that, 3 of her closest friends stopped talking to her. Not because she got pregnant. Nobody was judging her for that. Because she lied about who the father was and tried to manipulate me into taking responsibility for someone else's baby. Her parents know the truth now. Her mom called me and actually apologized, said she'd raised her daughter better than this, and was ashamed. Her dad didn't call, but according to her mom, he was furious. They're helping her with the pregnancy because that's what parents do, but the relationship is strained. She's currently trying to get my roommate to voluntarily acknowledge paternity. He's refusing. She'll have to go through the courts for a paternity test and child support order, which means lawyers and fees she can't afford on a part-time dental assistant salary. She started a legal aid application last week. I know this because she sent me a text asking if I knew any good lawyers, like I was her personal referral service. I didn't respond. The lease situation. My buddy, the accountant, helped me draft a proposal to my landlord. I would find a replacement tenant to take over my roommate's half of the lease if the landlord would agree to release him early. My landlord agreed, mostly because he didn't want the headache. I found a replacement, a co-worker's younger brother who was looking for a place, within 2 weeks. My roommate was off the lease by the end of the month. He moved into a 1-bedroom apartment that costs $300 more a month than his half of our rent was. Between the judgment, the new rent, and the looming child support, he's basically living paycheck to paycheck now. He texted me after he moved out, "I hope you're happy." I replied, "I'm not, but I'm not the one who should be unhappy." He didn't respond. My total financial loss from this whole ordeal, essentially zero, other than the emotional cost of having my relationship blown up and 16 weeks of stress that probably took a year off my life. I didn't break the lease. I didn't lose my job. I didn't pay for anyone else's mistakes. The only thing I spent was the emotional bandwidth to handle this like an adult instead of losing my mind. And some nights, that felt like it cost everything. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm thriving. I'm not. I come home to a house that still has echoes of a relationship that I thought was real. Sometimes I'll find something of hers, a hair tie in the bathroom drawer, a coffee mug she brought over, and it catches me off guard. Not because I miss her, specifically. I miss the version of my life where this hadn't happened. I miss being the guy who didn't check his phone with dread. I miss trusting people without doing math first. My new roommate is fine. Quiet. Clean. Pays rent on time. We watch football on Sundays and don't talk about our personal lives. It's exactly what I need right now. I got assigned to another long-term project starting next month. 8 weeks this time. My boss asked if I was okay to travel again so soon. I said yeah. He said, "You sure?" After everything. I said, "The work is the one thing that didn't betray me." He laughed. I sort of meant it as a joke. Sort of didn't. To everyone who followed this and sent messages, thank you. I read most of them. The ones that helped the most weren't the "you're a king" messages, though I appreciate those. It was the ones from guys who said the same thing happened to me and I survived it. You will too. Because on the worst nights, lying in a hotel room 1,200 miles from my own bed, those messages were the only thing that made me believe it. One last thing. Someone in my DMs asked me if I regret sending those screenshots to the fiancé. Not for 1 second. That woman was about to marry someone and build a life based on a lie. She deserved the truth. I would want someone to do the same for me. The only thing I'd change is that I wish I didn't have to be the one to do it. That's it. I'm out. Thanks for reading, Reddit. I'm going to go eat leftover pizza and watch something that requires zero emotional investment. Peace.